Oh, look, he
Millionaire's
spilled
wife
it
threw
everywhere.
wine
How
at Black
utterly dreadful.
CEO.
I
Minutes
told you to
later,
leave this
she
instant.
watched a
You are a disgrace.
$2.40
I understand the
speed deal
risks, but the
collapse
deal is
below
off. We need
everyone
to move
before we
immediately.
begin
Tell him I'm on my
today's
way.
video. I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction and subscribing is one of the best ways
What
you
is
can
that on
help
his shirt?
us.
It looks
It's
like
quick,
blood.
free, and allows
Oh
us
my
to
goodness, this is
continue
terrible.
bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to the story. Get out of here! Her voice sliced through the ballroom like broken glass, sharp, loud, meant to humiliate. The chandelier glow trembled across crystal glasses as Cassandra Wynne, wrapped in a wine-red satin gown, pointed straight at the man she believed was an intruder. Laughter burst behind her, too bright, too eager, the kind of laugh people only use when they think cruelty is harmless. Marcus Hall stood in the center of the marble floor vest, soaked with a fresh splash of red wine. The stain bled down his gray suit like a slow, deliberate wound. He didn't flinch, didn't touch it, didn't defend himself. He just breathed. Calm, still, unmoved. And that terrified the room more than any outrage ever could. Behind Cassandra, 5 guests, men in tuxedos, women in matching crimson dresses, leaned in, smiling at the spectacle. One of them pulled out her phone, lifting it just enough to record without looking obvious. Another nudged his friend, whispering something that made them snicker harder. To them, Marcus wasn't a guest. He wasn't a peer. He wasn't even a stranger. He was background scenery, disposable. A server at the far end of the hall froze mid-step. Her tray rattled. She looked at Marcus the way someone looks at a fire, afraid to touch it, terrified to ignore it. Cassandra stepped closer, lips curled in a smile meant to be elegant, but landing somewhere between venom and victory. "You don't belong anywhere near this table," she hissed. "Look at you. Just look." Her eyes dropped to the stain she caused. The room followed. Dozens of eyes. One judgment. Marcus exhaled once. Slow. Thoughtful. He remembered being 17, standing outside a restaurant where a manager told him, "We're not taking walk-ins today," not looking like that. Same tone. Same certainty. Same ugliness. Cassandra lifted her chin. "A simple sorry would have been enough," she said loudly enough for the room to rehear itself. "But you people always make things difficult." More laughter. More eyes. More noise. But Marcus didn't bend. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and pressed it to his ear. Not rushed. Not shaken. Measured. Dead calm. The laughter dimmed, confused by that calm. Cassandra raised a brow. "Oh, you're calling security good. I'll help them escort you out." Marcus didn't look at her. He didn't look at anyone. Just spoke into the phone voice, low, soft enough to force the room to lean in, sharp enough to cut deeper than any shout cancel the $2.4 billion deal. "Now." The room stopped breathing. A tuxedoed man in the back lowered his champagne flute so slowly it might have been glass turning to stone. Someone whispered, "Did he say billion?" The server with the tray nearly dropped it. Cassandra blinked, a tiny crack forming behind her smile. The first crack. But the story wasn't hers anymore. It was his. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change. And we're glad you're here. Now back to Marcus Hall. Marcus lowered his phone. And for the first time that night, the room began to realize who they had just laughed at. For a long second, no one moved. The ballroom, moments ago buzzing with champagne laughter, froze around Marcus Hall like a photograph caught mid-collapse. Even the chandeliers seemed to hold their breath, their crystal edges trembling in the silence he carved with just 7 words: cancel the $2.4 billion deal. Cassandra blinked first. Her smile didn't fade all at once. No, it cracked slowly the way glass spiders before it shatters. "That's funny," she said, laughing a beat too late. You're being dramatic. Come on, put the phone down. You can't cancel anything. But her voice wavered, and everyone heard it. Behind her, the group she'd been entertaining shifted uneasily. One man scratched his jaw, trying to piece together a puzzle he suddenly realized had more edges than he expected. A woman in a matching crimson dress lowered her champagne flute as if the stem had turned hot in her hand. Then came the whispers. Quiet, cautious, slicing the air like nervous wind, did he say, "Deal? Is that number real? Who the hell is he?" Marcus didn't look at any of them. He just slipped the phone back into his pocket, adjusting the collar of his wine-stained suit with the same calm a surgeon uses before an incision. Not careful. Precise. A man in a white tuxedo stepped closer, trying to reclaim the room's authority. "Sir, this is a private function. You need to." Marcus lifted one eyebrow. Just one. And the man stepped back like the air between them pushed him. Across the room, the young server watched everything with wide, conflicted eyes. She took one step forward, then hesitated. She'd seen mistreated guests before, but never a moment like this where the balance of power felt like it was being rewritten in real time. She pressed her lips together. Something inside her shifted. Cassandra tried again, louder this time, desperate to regain the spotlight she thought she owned. "You can stop pretending. We all know you're not supposed to be in here." She gestured at a group of older investors, silently urging them to laugh with her again. But none did. Their eyes were locked on Marcus now, following him the way people follow the tide before a storm. "You walked into the wrong room," Cassandra insisted. Her voice rose. "You don't get to make threats here." Marcus finally turned. Not fast. Not confrontational. Just enough to let her see the steadiness in his eyes, the kind of steadiness that made powerful people rethink their confidence. "I didn't make a threat," he said softly. "I made a decision." The tuxedoed man behind Cassandra swallowed hard. A woman murmured, "Wait, Marcus Hall." Isn't that her voice faded as realization dawned? But Cassandra didn't hear it. Or maybe she refused to. She stepped forward, crowding him, trying to win a war that was already lost. "You think making a phone call scares anyone? This is $1 billion room." Marcus held her gaze. And that, he replied, is exactly why respect matters. The words didn't echo. They landed heavy, precise, undeniable. Around them, the ballroom began to shift. People straightened. People watched. People understood something irreversible had just started. And Cassandra Wynne wasn't ready for the part she played in it. For the first time since the wine hit his suit, the room began to tilt, not physically but socially. The balance of arrogance and certainty that had filled the ballroom just minutes earlier now wavered, trembling under a truth no one could yet name. A silver-haired investor near the bar leaned toward his colleague, voice low but urgent. "Hall, Marcus Hall, isn't he connected to?" His colleague's face drained of color. "He's not connected," he whispered back. "He is the decision-maker." The ripple spread. A shift that moved like an invisible current through designer gowns and tailored tuxedos. One guest stopped mid-sip. Another lowered her phone. A third stepped quietly out of Cassandra's orbit, as if refusing to be associated with what was about to happen. Cassandra didn't notice any of it. She was too busy doubling down. "Oh, please," she scoffed, flicking her wrist at Marcus like he was a fly. "Everyone here knows who's important and whose background."
She didn't look at the spreading unease.
She didn't see the glances.
She didn't feel the temperature shift.
But Marcus did. He felt it settle across the room like dust revealing fingerprints, every bias, every assumption, every quiet cruelty laid bare. A soft clang broke the tension. The young server, still holding her silver tray, stepped forward again, palms trembling, but eyes clear. "Ma'am," she said, voice wavering but undeniable, "he wasn't standing near your table." "You approached him." A gasp cut through the crowd. Someone whispered. She spoke up. Cassandra spun toward the girl, venom dripping. "You don't get to say anything. Go refill the glasses." Her words snapped like a whip. The girl froze. Her face flushed. Her fingers tightened around the tray. Marcus watched her carefully, looked at her the way someone looks at a person standing on the edge of their own courage. Just a nod. Barely one. But it was enough. The girl straightened. I saw what happened, she said louder this time. He wasn't disruptive. You were. The tray rattled once, then stilled. The entire ballroom inhaled as one. A man in a tailored navy tuxedo stepped back from Cassandra, choosing neutrality over alliance. Another couple shifted their weight, clearly recalibrating their loyalties. Cassandra blinked rapidly, realizing too late that the girl's voice had done what her own cruelty never could. It isolated her. Oh, how sweet, she said, laughing thinly. You think anyone will believe a server over, but she didn't finish the sentence? Because across the room, a guest's phone lit up with a notification, and the name glowing on the screen pulled the oxygen straight out of the air. MARCUSHALL Summit Meridian Holdings, a billionaire consortium. A multinational powerhouse. A signature that could close doors, open empires, or end careers. The guest's jaw dropped. Another saw the screen and cursed under their breath. A third whispered Cassandra. What did you do? Cassandra turned confusion crumbling into dread. Well, why are you all... She followed their stares to Marcus. And for the first time that night, her smile didn't just crack, it broke. Cassandra's breath caught in her throat as the room continued to shift quietly, decisively away from her. The confidence she had worn like a diamond necklace began to slide off her shoulders piece by piece, replaced by something she hadn't felt in years: uncertainty. Across the ballroom, the man holding his phone with Marcus's name displayed couldn't stop staring. His wife tugged his sleeve, whispering, show them, and he reluctantly turned the screen toward the guests nearest him. They leaned in. Their eyes widened. A murmur spread like a spark racing across dry grass. That's him here, dressed like that. Then the deal. Oh, God, one woman actually covered her mouth. Still, Cassandra clung to her disbelief like a lifeline. No, she said, shaking her head. No, this is ridiculous. That's not the same Marcus Hall. That can't be him. But the tremor in her voice betrayed her. Marcus didn't move, didn't react. Just watched her unravel with the same calm that had unsettled the entire room. A man from the investment group, the same one who earlier smirked during the humiliation, stepped forward, now sweating through his collar. Mr. Hall, sir, if there's been a misunderstanding, Marcus looked at him. Just looked. And the man swallowed the rest of his sentence like it tasted wrong. Behind Cassandra, the young server held her ground. Her hands still shook, but her voice steady, now strengthened by the sight of the room finally cracking open. You shouldn't have treated him like that, she said. Her boss across the room glared at her, but she didn't back down. The moment was small, but it mattered. Cassandra spun, eyes wild. You're all being dramatic. He's a nobody pretending to be important. This is some kind of scam. She laughed, too loud, too sharp. No one cancels a multi-billion-dollar deal over a little inconvenience. Marcus finally broke his silence. He stepped forward a single pace, and the shift was immediate. People cleared a path for him without thinking. Respect moving faster than reason. I didn't cancel it over an inconvenience, he said. I canceled it over clarity. Cassandra blinked. Clarity? What clarity? Marcus met her eyes steady as steel. The clarity that the people representing this partnership don't respect the rooms they're trying to buy access to. Silence. Pure. Heavy. Inescapable. The silver-haired investor took off his glasses, face ashen. Cassandra, he whispered harshly, you need to stop talking. Right now. She ignored him. She jabbed a finger at Marcus's chest. So what, you expect us to believe you have that kind of power? You expect us to think you can just end a contract with a phone call? She scoffed. That's not how the world works. Marcus's eyes didn't waver. It's exactly how the world works, he said. When you're the one who writes the contracts.
Someone gasped.
Someone whispered, oh my God. Someone else muttered, she's done.
But Cassandra took a step back, then another, because now she wasn't just looking at a man she insulted. She was looking at the man her husband's entire empire depended on. The world didn't fall apart all at once. It fell in tiny cracking pieces, and she felt every one of them slide out from under her heels. The ballroom didn't just quiet down, it tightened. As if every chandelier crystal, every marble vein beneath their feet, every sip of champagne suddenly leaned toward Marcus Hall and away from Cassandra Wynne. Her breath quickened. Her fingers twitched at her sides. She kept looking at the guests nearest her, searching for anyone to nod, to smirk, to reassure her she still owned the room. No one did. One by one, faces she considered allies turned away, not dramatically, not with condemnation, but with something far more dangerous: self-preservation. A man in a white tuxedo whispered to his date, her husband's portfolio is tied to Hall's group. She has no idea what she's done. The date nodded stiff. This could tank them. Cassandra swallowed hard, the taste of wine and panic rising in her throat. Everyone needs to calm down, she insisted, forcing a laugh that slipped dangerously close to a choke. He's playing all of you. He's pretending. He's not. He can't be. The server, standing with her silver tray tucked against her ribs, spoke up again before fear could silence her. He's not pretending. Her voice was small, but in the suffocating quiet it carried. I recognized his name. We get memos when high-level guests are in the building. A few heads snapped toward her. Someone muttered, "That's protocol." Someone else whispered, "So he really is." Cassandra spun toward the girl, eyes blazing. You don't know anything. Your staff. You're barely even. Marcus cut in gently. She knows enough to speak when it matters. The girl froze, but this time in disbelief, not fear. Respect as that. It rewires a person. Cassandra scoffed, desperate for oxygen. Oh, please. You're defending her now, what you're trying to look noble? This is pathetic. Marcus didn't move, didn't blink, just let her words collapse under their own weight. Then something new happened, something Cassandra wasn't ready for. A man from her husband's investment circle approached Marcus hesitantly. Mister, Hawley said, voice cracking. If we could find a way to address this privately. Marcus turned his head slightly. I addressed it. The man froze. Marcus added, you weren't listening. The ballroom air thickened. The kind of thick that makes people shift their feet and loosen their collars. Cassandra felt her pulse in her temples. This is insane, she spat. You think you can embarrass me, humiliate us in front of all these people just because of a wine spill? You're overreacting. Marcus stepped forward, not threatening, not forceful, just close enough that she could no longer pretend she held higher ground. It wasn't the spill, he said quietly. It was the sentence that followed it. She blinked rapidly. What sentence? Marcus's jaw tightened barely. But enough. You people. The room didn't gasp this time. It didn't need to. Everyone felt the shame land exactly where it belonged. Cassandra's face drained. I didn't say it like that. You're twisting, but her voice died under the weight of eyes that had heard her perfectly. Behind her, the crimson dress friends who laughed earlier took synchronized half steps away, as if distancing themselves might erase the proof woven into the air. And for the first time, Cassandra realized something horrifying. The crowd wasn't confused anymore. They weren't on the fence. They weren't unsure who to believe. They believed him. She was no longer fighting Marcus Hall. She was fighting the truth and losing ground with every breath. And the breaking point, the one no apology could fix, was now seconds away. For a moment, all Marcus did was breathe. Not heavily. Not angrily. Just a calm inhale, a kind of stillness that didn't belong to the man who'd been humiliated minutes earlier, but to someone who had already decided the outcome of the night long before anyone else realized a game was being played. The crowd felt it. A shift. A gravity. Cassandra felt it too, though she didn't understand it. She clung to indignation like a failing life raft. Oh, enough with the theatrics, she snapped, trying to force laughter back into her voice. You're blowing this out of proportion. Everyone saw what happened. He walked into our circle. Uninvited. Marcus raised a hand. Not high, just enough. And Cassandra stopped speaking. Not because he silenced her, but because somehow the room had. Then Marcus reached into his pocket and took out his phone again. A fresh wave of murmurs rolled through the ballroom. Cassandra's hand flew to her chest. What are you doing now? Marcus didn't answer her. He pressed one button. Just one. The phone barely rang before a woman's voice came through the speaker, steady, crisp, unmistakably in control. Mr. Hall, I'm here. Do you want to initiate protocol, Meridian? The words landed like a dropped chandelier. A man at the bar nearly dropped his drink. A woman whispered, Oh my God, protocol. Even the server stiffened, eyes widening. Cassandra blinked rapidly. Well, what is that supposed to mean? What protocol? Who is that? Marcus didn't turn. He spoke calmly into the phone, confirmed the status. Yes, sir, the voice replied. Partners from Wynn Industries have not yet signed the pre-finalization documents. Their access to all shared assets is still conditional. Your revocation will terminate the contract and pull out all funding immediately. Shall I proceed? The room spun. Not literally, but the emotional floor beneath Cassandra's heels vanished. Her husband's investors stared at each other in horror. One cursed under his breath. Another closed his eyes as if calculating every dollar evaporating. Cassandra's voice cracked. Wait, no. You can't do that. You can't just, this isn't. Marcus finally looked at her. Not with anger. Not with vengeance. With clarity. I warned you, he said softly, that I made a decision. Cassandra stumbled back a step. The server stepped forward another inch, like courage had quietly seeped into her bones. She whispered, Ma'am, I think you should listen to him. But Cassandra wasn't listening. She was unraveling. No, she said, shaking her head so hard her earrings trembled. This is a scare tactic. A bluff. He's pretending to be someone important. He's the silver-haired investor, cut her off, voice cold and final. Cassandra. Stop. He's not bluffing. Marcus Hall doesn't bluff. She froze. Because the way he said it, the way the room agreed with their silence, the way her own circle now looked at her with disguised fury had told her everything she refused to believe. Marcus Hall was exactly who he said he was. And she had just handed him the perfect reason to pull the rug out from under her entire world. Marcus lifted the phone again, voice calm enough to terrify the people whose fortunes depended on him. Proceed with protocol, Meridian. The woman on the line replied, Yes, sir. Documenting the termination now. A gasp echoed across the ballroom. Cassandra's knees nearly buckled. And with that one command, her breaking point became their downfall, and Marcus's silence became the loudest power in the room. The ballroom didn't erupt. It collapsed inward. A silent implosion. People weren't whispering anymore. They were staring. At Marcus. At Cassandra. At the invisible line where her arrogance had collided with the truth and shattered on impact. Cassandra's chest heaved. Her mascara, perfect just 30 minutes earlier, now trembled on the edge of her lower lashes. She looked from face to face, searching for someone to interrupt this nightmare. But no one moved. Even the string quartet in the corner had paused mid-song bows frozen in the air. You can't do this, she whispered, but the sentence came out small. Childlike. Far too human for a woman who moments ago believed she ruled the room. Marcus turned slightly, just enough to let the crowd see the controlled calm in his expression. I already did. Her lips parted, no sound. Only fear. Then the silver-haired investor approached him with careful steps like a man approaching a live wire. Mr. Hall, he said quietly, reverently, we had no idea you were attending tonight. His voice cracked. Had we known accommodations, would have Marcus cut him off gently? I didn't come for the accommodations. His eyes flicked toward Cassandra. I came to finalize a deal. A broken laugh escaped Cassandra. It wasn't amusement, it was disbelief slipping into regret. This is insane. You're blowing up a partnership because of etiquette. Marcus tilted his head, studying her like a professor studies a flawed argument. You think this is about etiquette a beat? You insulted a stranger and expected applause. A ripple through the crowd agreement. Recognition. Complicity unraveling. But I didn't know who you were. She snapped, grabbing at the only rope she had left. Marcus stepped closer. The crowd parted like water. That's the problem, he said softly. You think respect depends on recognition? The ballroom exhaled a single breath stretched across 40 seconds of silence. Cassandra staggered back, but her heel caught on the edge of the carpet. A man behind her reached out reflexively to steady her, then froze hand hovering in midair as if touching her might pull him into the gravity well of her downfall. Somewhere near the bar, someone whispered, "He's right. She only respects status." Another added she thought he was staff, that's why she did it. Cassandra heard every word. Her face crumpled. No, that's not, she clasped her hands together as if trying to physically hold her dignity intact. You're twisting what happened. I didn't, Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. You told me, he said, repeating her earlier words with devastating precision, that people like me serve the wine. Her knees bent. Her breath stuttered. The server, the same young woman who had spoken up, took a step forward, eyes locked on Cassandra. There was no malice there, only truth. Ma'am, I heard you. Everyone heard you. It was the softness that broke Cassandra more than any accusation. Hands trembling, she tried to muster one last ounce of defiance. You're all judging me for one mistake. You can't ruin someone over. Marcus spoke before she could finish. I didn't ruin you. He gestured calmly to the silent crowd. You did that yourself. The words landed like a verdict. Behind Cassandra, her husband's investors exchanged a glance and realized their entire future had just shifted sides of the room. Cassandra swayed where she stood, not from the wine, not from the embarrassment, but from the dawning realization that she wasn't watching a man retaliate. She was watching a world she thought she owned walk away from her toward the man she tried to humiliate. The ballroom felt different now. Not hostile. Not festive. Just suspended. Like the room itself was waiting to see which piece would fall next. And that piece, unfortunately for her, was Cassandra Wynne. She tried to steady her breathing fingers, clutching the edge of a nearby table as if its polished surface could anchor her to the reality she preferred. But reality had already betrayed her. It was leaning toward Marcus with every shifting glance, every breathless murmur, every widening eye. Someone say something, she begged the guests nearest her. Not commanded. Begged. Tell him this is insane. Tell him this isn't how deals work. A man in a navy tuxedo shook his head, stepping back from her grip. Cassandra, I can't involve myself in this. You were laughing with me? She snapped. His eyes dropped to the floor. Not anymore. Her face crumpled, but before she could lash out again, one of the investors, Morton Hale, a man known for never showing emotion, approached Marcus directly. Mr. Hull, he said, voice tight with restrained panic. I know tonight's circumstances are unfortunate, but perhaps we can salvage the partnership. Wynn Industries deeply respects your leadership. Cassandra's actions don't represent, they represent enough, Marcus replied calmly. Morton froze. You're certain about termination protocol? Meridian is already in motion, Marcus said. I don't reverse protocols. She made that impossible. Cassandra's hands flew to her mouth.
Oh, God. Marcus, please, this isn't fair.
You can't blame an entire company for, I'm not blaming a company, he said, eyes cold as polished steel. I'm pulling out of a partnership that's built on the illusion of respect. The room stirred. Someone whispered, he's right, another murmured. She treated him like a servant. Imagine how she treats people who actually work under her.
Cassandra spun on the crowd. Stop it, all of you. You're twisting everything. I didn't know who he was.
A woman near the bar responded gently, devastatingly. That's exactly the point. The truth hit Cassandra so hard her knees wobbled. Then, a chime. A soft, discreet tone from Marcus's phone. He checked it. Chet. A single notification glowed on the screen. Meridian protocol complete. Termination executed. Cassandra's entire body sagged. No, 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 no. Her voice thinned into panic. You can't do this. My husband needs that deal. Our investors, our future. Marcus looked at her the way a judge might look at a defendant who still didn't understand the verdict. Your future was stable, he said, until you gambled it on humiliation.
He didn't raise his voice.
But the words echoed anyway. The room reacted in a wave.
Some gasped.
Some nodded. Some simply watched stone, still knowing they were witnessing the moment an empire cracked. Then came the final blow, not from Marcus. Not from an investor. From her own circle. One of her crimson dress friends who had laughed the loudest earlier took a hesitant step forward. Her voice trembled. Cassandra, you really shouldn't have said you people. Cassandra's eyes widened with betrayal. You laughed. You were right there with me, and now I regret it, the friend whispered. The server standing quietly by a column lowered her gaze. Not out of fear, out of empathy for a woman who had engineered her own downfall. Cassandra turned back to Marcus, her voice cracking into something unrecognizable. Please, please tell me there's a way to fix this. Marcus regarded her for a long, unwavering moment. There was, he said softly, before you opened your mouth. Her world shattered quietly, cleanly, without spectacle. And the ballroom watched the pieces fall while Marcus Hall stood exactly where he started, still calm and utterly untouchable. The ballroom no longer felt like a celebration. It felt like a courtroom, and Cassandra Wynne stood alone at the center, waiting for a verdict everyone else already knew. Her breath came in thin, frantic bursts. Marcus, Mr. Hall, please, she stammered, voice trembling as her eyes glistened. I swear I didn't mean it the way it sounded. It was a misunderstanding. Marcus didn't respond. He didn't even look at her first. He looked at the room. The crowd stood in a semicircle around them, silent, attentive, almost reverent. For the first time all evening, the power did not sit with the wealthy, the loud, or the arrogant. It flowed toward Marcus like metal to a magnet. When he finally turned back to Cassandra, the weight of 100 eyes followed. You keep calling this a misunderstanding, he said quietly, because you don't want to understand it. Cassandra's lips trembled. Her mascara smeared. Her fingers clutched the fabric of her dress like she was trying to hold herself together. I was frustrated, she whispered. I thought you were interrupting our table. I didn't know. Marcus cut her off, not with volume, but with precision. You didn't need to know who I was to treat me like a human being. The words struck harder than a shout ever could.
Someone near the front whispered exactly.
Someone else murmured, she doesn't get it.
She never did. Cassandra's shoulders crumpled, but Marcus continued, not cruelly, not vengefully, just truthfully. You thought respect was optional.
Selective.
Earned by the right name, the right clothes, the right status. His gaze sharpened. But the moment you weaponized that belief, you lost everything tied to it. A few guests looked away, ashamed of their earlier laughter. A man rubbed his temples. A woman wiped under her eyes as if embarrassed by her own complicity. Cassandra shook her head violently. No. I can apologize. I am apologizing. I'll fix it, please. I'll fix it. But Marcus didn't move. He didn't even blink. This isn't something you fix, he said. This is something you learn from. Her chest rose and fell in panicked rhythm. You can't do this to us, she whispered. You're ending our future because of one mistake. Marcus tilted his head just slightly. You call it one mistake, he said. But for people like me, it's the 1,000th. The guests swallowed collectively because they understood exactly what he meant. Flashback flickered behind Marcus's eyes. The restaurant at 17, the hotel at 24, the boardroom at 35. The same sentence. The same tone. The same dismissal. He had spent a lifetime being told people like you, and now the bill had come due. Cassandra wiped her cheek with trembling fingers. I'm begging you, she whispered. My husband, our company, our employees, this will ruin us. Marcus finally looked directly at her, and in that look was something deeper than fury, clarity, conviction, history. You ruined yourselves, he said softly. I just stopped pretending not to notice. A ripple passed through the room. Not applause. Not shock. Recognition. The server quiet, steady stepped closer again. Not to oppose Cassandra. To stand near Marcus. Her presence said what no one dared say aloud. This is what justice looks like when it finally arrives. Cassandra's knees buckled slightly, and one of her former friends caught her elbow, but only enough to keep her upright, no more loyalty than that. And when she looked around, really looked, she saw no one was on her side. No one believed her. No one defended her, because the line she crossed wasn't invisible. It was etched into every life Marcus represented, and she had stepped over it with both heels. For the first time that night, Cassandra Wynne understood the one truth she had spent her life avoiding. Some mistakes don't get second chances. The collapse didn't happen with a scream. It happened with a silence so heavy the chandeliers seemed to bow under it. Cassandra stood trembling in the center of the ballroom, surrounded by people who suddenly wanted nothing to do with her. Her world, once curated, polished, and protected, felt like it was slipping through her fingers, grain by grain. She reached for Morton Hale again, voice cracking. Morton, please say something. Tell him we can fix this. Tell him the board will. Morton stepped back. Not far. Not harshly. Just enough. I can't speak for the board, he said stiffly. And after tonight, neither can you. The words landed like a physical blow. Cassandra stumbled. Her heel scraped against the marble. Her hand shot out instinctively toward the nearest guest, but the woman sidestepped her, offering only a hesitant, pitying look. Don't, the woman whispered. You've done enough. Marcus stood still, hands loose at his sides, expression unreadable. Not gloating. Not triumphant. Just resolute, like a man who had finally closed a door he'd left open far too long. Cassandra tried again, voice unraveling. You don't understand. This contract was everything. My husband's company, our employees. Marcus, please. You can't destroy all that over. Marcus finished the sentence for her. Over the truth, her breath hitched. You didn't treat me poorly because you didn't know me, he continued quietly. You treated me poorly because you assumed you did. A murmur shivered across the room, agreement, regret awakening. Cassandra's mascara streaked down her cheek as she whispered, I swear, I didn't mean it. I made a mistake. Marcus nodded once. Yes, he said softly. You did. He let the silence stretch before adding, but the real mistake wasn't what you said. It's that you were comfortable saying it. That sentence broke her. Her legs finally gave way, and she sank onto a nearby chair, shaking breath, shallow and jagged. Two of her friends hovered awkwardly near her, but didn't touch her, afraid of being pulled into the fallout. At the edge of the room, the young server watched Marcus with something close to awe.
She didn't smile.
She didn't celebrate.
She simply understood.
This wasn't revenge. This was accountability. And Cassandra Wynne, for the first time in her life, was feeling all of it. The ballroom had shifted entirely. Where moments ago Cassandra Wynne commanded attention with confidence and volume, she now sat trembling in a chair surrounded by the very people who once orbited her like planets around a sun. But that sun had burned out. Investors gathered in tight circles, whispering rapidly about damaged reputation and the collapse of a deal they once bragged about. Their eyes darted toward Marcus, not in fear but in recognition of the authority he carried, without lifting his voice. One of Wynn Industries' senior partners approached him carefully, like someone stepping toward a verdict. Mr. Hall will cooperate fully with the termination. We offer our apologies for tonight's misconduct. Marcus met his gaze. You enabled it long before tonight, he replied. The man lowered his head. Cassandra looked up, mascara-streaked eyes frantic. You're all just walking away after everything, a nearby guest answered gently. No, Cassandra. We're not walking away. You pushed everyone back. The young server stepped forward again. Her voice was soft, but unwavering respect doesn't depend on who someone is. It depends on who you are. The crowd shifted, some nodding, some ashamed, all listening. Marcus approached Cassandra. Not to punish. Not to humiliate. But to clarify the truth she kept running from. You lost a deal tonight, he said quietly. But the real loss was realizing the room wasn't laughing with you. They were following you. And now they finally see where you were leading them. Cassandra stared at the floor, breath shaking. And for the first time all night, every person in that ballroom understood exactly who held the moral center, and it wasn't the woman in the red dress. Marcus didn't stay to watch the aftermath. He didn't need to. The moment he turned toward the exit, the entire ballroom shifted instinctively, silently, making space for him the way people move aside for truth when it finally arrives. Cassandra stayed seated, small and shaking, her world collapsing in quiet circles around her. No one reached for her. No one defended her. The consequences she unleashed had finally come home. At the doorway, Marcus paused, not for effect, but for closure. He didn't look back when he spoke. He simply offered the sentence that would outlive the night: power isn't proven by volume. It's proven by who you choose to be when you're disrespected. And then he walked out, leaving behind a room forever changed.